The idea for Quintangled is something I had always wanted to do. I had this idea to create a board game based on the heroic quest. And so through several synchronicities, there were three of us, Sue Lyon, an incredibly gifted artist, and Karen Stuth, who owns the company Satayama. So it was a 5-year process. The game is based on the idea of archetypes. There are 8 characters, and players roll an 8-sided die at the beginning to discover who they will be for the period of a game and what the nature of their quest will be. And the word Quintangled came from, because it essentially has 5 stages. The players depart, and they descend into the altered world. Then they have a crisis in the abyss, which represents the dark night of the soul. And then they return as heroic characters and ultimately reclaim the homeland from which they departed. So it's not a linear path. There are oracles of the 4 elements who reside at the corners, and there are different places that each player has to journey, heroic feats that have to be accomplished, and people really like the idea. It's based on, the inner framework is based on symbology, archetypes, the heroic quest, but at the surface of the game, you don't have to know any of that to play it. The idea is that maybe you'll learn about some of these very powerful elements, just like you were talking about the energy of deities, through playing the game, whether you participate very consciously from an informed place or whether you just play for fun. It can happen in any way. And so the idea is to cross the threshold, enter the magical realm, and embark upon a heroic quest. So it's based on the ideas of Joseph Campbell's work and also the work of Carl Jung, the Swiss psychiatrist Carl Jung. Those very important information that those 2 scholars gave to the world that are, again, archetypal and show up in every culture, no matter how diverse or no matter how old. Those fundamental archetypes reappear. And it's valuable to know about them and how, as you were saying earlier, how we express them in our own natures and how we either relate to others or bump up against them and understand why someone else might be difficult for us to relate to, and gaining more insight about how we might become a little more flexible through our own knowledge. There's a knight, a lover, a jester, a healer, a dreamer, a sage, a monarch, and a priestess. So I took the traditional 12 and kind of compressed them into 8 by combining a little bit of some of the characteristics. Unlike many games, no armies are amassed, no one dies or is killed. Who wins the game has the most points. And in this game, points represent wisdom that you gained on the journey. So it's not about getting home first. It's not about just defeating your opponents. It's about, like life, what did you learn and how wise did you become? And so in that way, the person who has the most points wins the game.